and welcome to this historic labor conference hosted by UAW Local 551. Yeah, give it up. All right. I am Chris Penna, President of Local 551, and it is my honor to welcome you to the National Workers Conference here in Chicago.
Then you got people that's trying to go back to school like me, can't afford it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you all can hear it, but I'm sick right now. I can't go to the emergency room or the doctor because I have no health insurance because I can't afford it. The reason why I say we need a union in McDonald's is because it's a lot of things that happen in McDonald's behind those counters that no one knows about. For instance, like, you know, one of my coworkers burned himself on the grill. And can anyone tell me what they would tell you to put on your burn? They tell you to put mustard on your burn and walk, and that's it.
Yo estoy aquí el día de hoy
I'm here today with you,
representando a 80,000 jornaleros.
representing 80,000 agricultural workers in San Quintín.
Ellos se hacen ricos
They become very, very wealthy
con el trabajo de nosotros, con
Of our-
nuestra muerte.
of our work and also our deaths in the fields.
Y nuestra gente muere
And our people die,
esclavizados en sus tierras.
enslaved in their own land and their own soil.
Lo que nosotros, los indígenas mixtecos, antes teníamos de tierra,
When we, the Mixteco indigenous populations, the land belonged to us, we lived off the land.
ahora es Driscoll quien nos tiene como esclavos.
And now it's these corporations that across the border that they now have taken control of our land.
November of 2012, less than 200 fast food workers in the city of New York walked off the job, went on strike, and demanded 15 and the right to have a union. And that was really the spark of a movement where then what happened in New York, it then spread to the Midwest. Chicago, following that November, in April, Chicago workers went on strike, as well as workers in Milwaukee, St. Louis, Detroit, and then it spread from coast to coast. When we said 15 in 2012, did folks think that was realistic? Hell no. Like President Obama came out saying, I'm for $9 an hour, right? And they called him a socialist. What we can say today is that since this campaign has started, 22 million working folks have gotten a raise of $1 or more. That's over $40 billion that are in working people's pockets versus, as a result of this campaign.
Waste of the New York City alone, in New York City alone, it's around $30 million a week. A week that the employers do not pay workers, and of course, when you're undocumented and you go to a construction company or a restaurant, and they take you in very warmly, and they invite you to be part of the company, you think that they love you. They love undocumented workers. And they love undocumented workers because they could exploit the hell out of them. And then when they don't get paid, 95% of them are really terrified to even cross. I went with some workers that we won a case, $330,000 last year for workers in a car wash. And they were afraid to cross the line going into the courtroom because, it was a federal court. You know what that means.
Your organizations, both in the workplace, regional, national, and international, to fight against the effects of the capitalism. The arrival of Trump to the power leaves evident the true face of imperialism. Politics, imperialism, wars, and the operation of several countries with companies scattered around the world, as General Motors, Ford, McDonald's, Apple, Shell, banks, and many others. Trump represents further that side of capitalism carefree, with the environment and the immigrants. The world saw the major events that occurred in your country. The big women's demonstration and the struggles against racism and the policy violence here inspired other struggles around the world.
But here in the southeast side of Chicago, we've actually conducted a survey in 2010, in particular the 10th ward, to determine what's happening in our community. We surveyed a lot of workers to see which businesses were exploiting, taking advantage of workers, in particular stealing their wages, not paying overtime, as well as many other conditions in the workplace. And the study was pretty interesting, aside from getting the names of the business owners that are violators in our community. And we're talking about small mom and pop shops. Many of them, unfortunately, are immigrant owners, as well as others. And so we found that 38% of the workers that we surveyed experienced one form of wage theft. 65% of, when you talk about industry, 65% of the workers worked in the service sector, 57% childcare, and 44% retail. And then we also found out that women in particular were the ones who experienced more issues in the workplace.
In my working life, I've had 77 jobs, 77 different employers. I've been moved on. I've been arrested 29 times on picket lines. I've done 23 days of maximum security prison. I was choked senseless by 4 police. I got charged, 8 of those 29 convictions are for serious assault on police charges, including one which in English law is called bodily harm, because the police officer broke his arm smashing me in the head over a bonnet of a car. But the strangulation that lots of working class people within the trade union movement have felt by their own bureaucracies have in some way, and has definitely enabled the boss to strangle us a lot faster. Because they've been too busy worried about how much of a pay rise I can get, how good my life can be, and forgetting about the man and the woman on the shop floor, which is the key to everything. Like, I was offered to fly business class to get here, right? Not from the IDC, but one of my people they said you can't fly 22 hours, you know, and you know, I've had 5 operations on my spine and all that sort of crap. And I said, I'll tell you what I'll do, is that I'll fly the same class that my membership fly, which is economy class. I'll stay in the same hotels that my membership stay in, which is normal, because who am I to be any step ahead? So all that sort of crap that goes on within the labour movement has to come to an end, okay? Really. You know?
But so far, the corporations in this country have put every working person, immigrants, people who live in this country, union, non-union, under a brutal attack. Decimate all the benefits that we've, through the history of the labor movement in this country, and other countries too, of the corporations, which I consider to be the capitalist system, which means profit over people, whether it's life or death. That's what we're talking about. Some of us, like myself and my family and many other families, struggled to build a farm workers union. They killed us, they beat us, they put us in prison.
And GM has had a practice not only in Colombia, but in Brazil, as well as in India and other countries, where if you have a surplus labor force, what you do is you use up workers, and when you're done using them up, you get rid of them and you bring in some fresh meat, and they come in and you got another workers, and it's this continuing round table and of spitting out workers and bringing in new ones. So in 2011, hundreds of workers were fired by General Motors in Colombia. And to GM's surprise, some of the workers decided that this was a real injustice, and they fought back. To say that it's a difficult proposition for injured workers who have been cast out of their jobs with no workers' compensation, cheated out of their life, unable to support their families, to see what kind of a fight back those workers have waged, which is ongoing to this day, is really something that we can all learn a few lessons from. And one of them has to do with the spirit of continuing the struggle until we win, however long it might take. However long it might take.